Well, to discuss what's happening in South Korea, let's bring in Katherine Moon, Professor of Political Science and the Wasserman Chair of Asian Studies at Wellesley College in the US. Thank you so much for being with us this evening. So why did all of this come to a head when it did? How exactly did we get here?
Well, we don't know why President Yoon declared martial law out of the blue. South Koreans are wondering, as is the rest of the world. What we do know, those of us who follow Korea developments, is that he has been a very, very unpopular leader with lower than 20% favorability ratings, and that he has been overwhelmed with both the National Assembly as well as media attention and pressure on his wife's alleged bribery and corruption scandals. And he has been hamstrung. He has not been able to do much of what he wanted to do in terms of his legislative agenda because he has absolutely no control over the National Assembly, with the opposition party having a majority there. They came in by a landslide in the spring, and that is a sign that the South Korean public is very unhappy about President Yoon. I think what's interesting is that this martial law only lasted 2.5 hours, and that, ironically, the two parties, the Conservative Party that is part of Mr. Yoon's leading camp, and the opposition Democratic Party, the leaders of those two parties came together in the National Assembly to vote down this martial law declaration and condemn it as unconstitutional and illegal.
So, Katherine, is the crisis essentially over then? What exactly happens now?
Well, I think the South Korean public is already calling for impeachment and arrest. And I think the National Assembly will also take measures for impeachment. There will be a lot of pressure on him to resign, and he will have to be held accountable because he claimed that there were anti-state, pro-North Korea forces at work, and that was his justification for declaring martial law. But absolutely, there is no indication that there was any unusual activity by the North Koreans. And when he came on television just a little while ago to announce that martial law is now over, he had nothing to say about having defeated the forces that he had originally claimed he wanted to tackle. So it's really a real question mark why he went and took this route in the first place. It seems to have signaled his own downfall, if anything.
And people also question whether or not he was even within his rights to impose martial law, because under the Constitution he can only do so during warlike situations or during a national emergency. Did any of this fall under those conditions?
No, absolutely not. There was no national emergency. He basically created the rhetoric of some kind of a national security crisis, but it's not based in any fact. And so the Korean public, constitutional scholars in South Korea have already been voicing their opinion that this was unconstitutional, illegal, that it never should have happened. And he also followed no procedure to in taking this step. Just simply he announced it on television in the middle of the night. So I think there will be legal repercussions for him, and I think the Korean public will be very vigilantly watching to see what kind of accountability takes place in the next few days and weeks.
And as for the political fallout, what do you expect there domestically and internationally?
Well, domestically, I think there's going to be a lot of public attention to this and calls for resignation, impeachment, et cetera. I think that the public, I think, also will give credit to the two parties, the Conservative Party and the ruling Conservative Party and the opposition Democratic Party, for having worked together for the first time in a very long time work together to restore democracy, to restore the rule of law, civilian rule. I think internationally, it really throws a wrench into Korea's political economic life. As soon as he declared this martial law at night, last night, the Korean currency, the won, fell in value to a 2-year low. And this is also a very precarious time, as we all know, with wars in the Middle East, in Russia, Eastern Europe, and South Korea is a strong partner of the United States and Ukraine, supporting the U.S. Intentions to support Ukraine. And there shouldn't have been this kind of a disruption. And definitely not something that could signal to North Korea that, that South Korean domestic politics is unstable. But Yoon actually, I think, has shot himself in the foot, and that's putting it mildly.
Katherine, we'll have to leave it there for now, but thank you so much for joining us on the programme. That is Katherine Moon, Professor of Political Science. Well, the declaration came weeks